You did not stumble here by accident. Out of millions of signals, algorithms, and distractions flooding your screen, this message pierced through the noise and landed exactly in your hands. That alone should tell you something. You are already vibrating on the edge of a shift. The web you're woven into the invisible quantum lattice of your life is pulsing, alive, and responsive. And right now, it's calling you to rise. For too long, you felt the static. Connections that once felt electric faded into silence. People you thought would stay forever drifted like shadows across timelines. Opportunities that seemed within reach collapsed like sand between your fingers. It wasn't failure, it was frequency. You've been carrying resonance that no longer matches the chords of your becoming. And in the quantum field, mismatch creates distortion. You feel it as missed calls, crossed signals, endless delays, and the uncanny déjà vu of walking in circles. But tonight, you are standing inside a different signal. This is not coincidence, it's coherence. When your field locks into alignment with higher truth, the universe bends in your direction. That's why these words reached you. That's why your heart is beating faster as you listen, as if some ancient part of you remembers the contract you made before stepping into this body, the agreement to awaken, to raise your frequency, to embody the very shift you once sought in the stars. Think of your life as a quantum web, every thread humming with stored information. Relationships, choices, memories. Each one is a filament vibrating at a certain pitch. Change your frequency, and the entire geometry rearranges. What was blocked unlocks. What was heavy dissolves. What was distant suddenly feels magnetic, inevitable. The web does not wait. It obeys the resonance you project. And tonight, the resonance you project will begin to transform. Breathe into that possibility for a moment. Inhale, and feel your cells awaken like galaxies lighting up. Exhale and release the static you've carried, old words that wounded, old fears that caged, old loops that stole your time. Each breath is a phase transition, moving you from one version of reality into another. You've been trained to think change takes years, lifetimes even. But quantum shifts happen in an instant when intention, focus, and energy converge. And that convergence is happening here, in this very moment. So, consider this your threshold. The destiny call you've been waiting for is not a trumpet from the sky or a prophecy from a stranger. It is the whisper of your own frequency, rising, right here, right now. You don't need permission. You don't need proof. You only need the courage to step into the coherence already weaving around you. Because when you raise your frequency today, you are not just changing your mood, you are rewriting the architecture of your connections, rewiring the quantum circuitry of your entire web. This is the first step, and you've already taken it. You showed up, you aligned. Now, the real transformation begins. And yet, if we are honest, you know what it feels like to carry static. You've been living inside the echo of patterns that never seem to resolve. You try to move forward, but the past keeps replaying like a scratched record. Different faces, same story. Different opportunities, same collapse. You wake up with resolve, only to feel the weight of invisible chains by nightfall. This is not weakness, it is physics. When a frequency is out of coherence, it produces interference. Imagine two waves colliding, one carrying the signature of your expanded self, the other the residue of your old self. Instead of building into a powerful surge, they cancel each other out. That's why your progress feels like taking 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. It's not punishment, it's interference. And haven't you felt it? That haunting déjà vu, as though you're walking in a maze where every corner hides the same mirror. The conversation you've had 100 times, replaying with new characters. The job that seemed promising but ended with the same disappointment. The relationship that started with spark but dissolved into the same silence. These are not coincidences. They are feedback loops, patterns encoded in your quantum field, waiting for you to notice. Because the truth is, reality is not solid. It's rhythmic, vibrating, endlessly adjusting to the signal you broadcast. Your thoughts, your emotions, your unspoken beliefs, they're not private. They are electrical signatures, rippling through the quantum web like frequencies searching for resonance. And resonance always finds itself. If your inner field hums with scarcity, it locks onto lack. If your emotions loop in betrayal, it summons another betrayer. If your nervous system vibrates with doubt, it magnetizes delay. But here's the strange thing. Even when you know this, you still get caught. Why? Because time itself becomes distorted inside a frequency mismatch. The days blur, weeks vanish, years fold over themselves, and you wake up wondering, how am I back here again? That distortion isn't random, it's the echo of your field repeating until it learns a new song. Let's look deeper. Every morning, there's a moment where your expanded identity peeks through. You feel it as possibility, as a sudden surge of energy, as clarity before the noise. But as the day unfolds, you find yourself reacting from the smaller version of you, the one conditioned by past pain, rehearsed narratives, and inherited beliefs. That shift back into the old self creates destructive interference. The wave of expansion collides with the wave of contraction, and the result is static. The signal gets lost, and this is where you've been trapped, in the observer loop of half-remembered awakenings. You touch the truth, you feel the power, but then you collapse into the gravity of the old timeline. And the more you try to push against it with force, the tighter it grips. Because force belongs to the old dimension. Shift happens not by force, but by frequency. So pause here. Feel the honesty of this diagnosis. You've been living inside recurring patterns, not because you are broken, not because destiny has abandoned you, but because your frequency has not yet stabilized into coherence. You are still oscillating between identities, the one who remembers their cosmic origin, and the one who fears being too much, too different, too bright. This is why time feels strange. This is why opportunities ghost you at the last second. This is why connections fade, even when they once felt divine. The quantum field doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you consistently vibrate. And inconsistency creates distortion. But here's the grace in all of this. Distortion is not the end. It is feedback. Every missed connection, every repeating loop, every déjà vu moment, it's the field showing you the exact places where coherence is needed. Your suffering has been data. Your delays have been coordinates. Your heartbreaks have been maps pointing to the frequency you must stabilize. And now you're here, listening, because the time for diagnosis has reached its limit. The field doesn't bring you truth without bringing you the next doorway. The maze you've been circling has a hidden exit. The mirrors that have been haunting you are about to dissolve. Because you are not doomed to repeat, you are being prepared to upgrade. The static was never proof of failure. It was the sound of two realities colliding. And when you finally align, when the waves stop canceling and start amplifying, the quantum field will erupt in coherence. That's when your web transforms. That's when connections return with clarity. That's when time bends in your favor. And you're closer to that than you've ever been. So here is where everything shifts. The patterns you've been caught in weren't here to punish you. They were here to teach you the mechanics of your own field. And now that you've seen the interference, you're ready to step into coherence. This is where the upgrade begins. Imagine your body not as flesh and bone, but as a living receiver, a biological antenna tuned to the quantum field. Every cell is crystalline, every strand of DNA, a filament of light humming with hidden codes. You've been taught that DNA is static, a fixed script written by ancestry. But science now reveals what mystics have whispered for millennia. DNA is fluid, dynamic, responsive to vibration. It doesn't just store memory, it listens. It reorganizes itself according to the signals you project. This means your biology is not a cage, but a portal. Every thought, every emotion, every frequency you hold is instruction, telling your DNA how to fold, how to express, how to unlock latent potentials. That's why when you raise your frequency, your body feels it. The tingling at your skin, the warmth at your crown, the pulse in your chest. These are not random sensations. They are signals of restructuring, proof that you are transmitting new commands into the quantum web. Now, think of the field itself. Quantum physics shows us that reality is not built from solid objects, but from probability waves, fields of potential waiting to collapse into form. Nothing is fixed until it is observed. But what most people miss is this. Observation is not just looking with your eyes. Observation is vibration. The frequency you embody is the measurement that tells the field what to become. When you live in fear, the field collapses into threats. When you live in doubt, the field collapses into delays. But when you embody coherence, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions align in harmony, the field collapses into synchronicity. Doors open where there were walls. Encounters arrive as if scripted by some invisible playwright. The web itself rearranges, as though the universe has always been waiting for you to choose this station on the dial. And coherence is not just mystical, it is measurable. Heart coherence, brainwave coherence, electromagnetic resonance. These are scientific terms describing the harmony of signals within you. When your heart rhythm steadies, your brain synchronizes, your nervous system regulates, and your electromagnetic field expands. And that expanded field doesn't just affect you, it extends outward, entangling with others, influencing outcomes, bending probability in your favor. This is the upgrade, learning to stabilize coherence so fully that the static disappears. No more oscillating between identities, no more building and collapsing. You become a standing wave, vibrating with such clarity that the universe has no choice but to respond in kind. And here's the mystical side. Ancient tradition spoke of awakening as remembrance, the soul remembering its true vibration after lifetimes of distortion. They described the body as a temple of light, where the spirit weaves itself into matter. They knew what modern science is only beginning to rediscover. When you embody your highest frequency, you don't just change your personal life, you alter the geometry of the web itself. Think of a spider's web trembling in the wind. One shift in one strand sends ripples through the whole structure. Your frequency is like that. When you raise it, every connection in your web begins to resonate differently. Old ties that no longer match will dissolve. New alignments that mirror your upgraded state will appear. And the connections that were always meant for you, the ones hidden by static, will suddenly light up with undeniable clarity. This is why the upgrade feels both exhilarating and terrifying. It demands release. It demands trust. You cannot carry the resonance of old loops into coherence. They will unravel. People may fall away. Opportunities may vanish. But what dissolves was never yours. What remains, and what arrives, is aligned with the upgraded field you are transmitting. And you've already felt glimpses of it, the days where everything clicked, where synchronicities followed you like breadcrumbs, where the right call came at the right moment, where even strangers seemed to recognize something in you. That wasn't luck. That was coherence temporarily breaking through the static. The upgrade is learning how to make that your baseline. So pause here. Feel the truth of this. You are not broken. You are upgrading. You are not trapped. You are recalibrating. And every breath, every intention, every act of alignment is instruction for your DNA, your field, your web. The quantum upgrade is not coming. It's already underway. Now lean into this realization. Not everyone makes it to this threshold. Many wander in loops their entire lives, never seeing the interference, never realizing that the static is not destiny but signal. But you, out of billions, you've been given the awareness to see, to question, to rise. That is not chance. That is calling. You are not here as a random observer, watching reality unfold from the sidelines. You are the chosen consciousness, through which reality reorganizes itself. The field doesn't just reflect you, it needs you. Without your coherence, the web remains distorted. Without your signal, the lattice of possibility stays tangled. The quantum field is not passive. It waits for consciousness strong enough to stabilize it, to bring order where there is chaos. And you are one of those stabilizers. Think about it. How many times have you walked into a room and felt the atmosphere shift, though you said nothing? How many people have leaned on your energy, drawn to something they couldn't explain? That wasn't coincidence. It was resonance. Your field carries coherence even when you're unaware of it. And that coherence ripples, it comforts, it unsettles, it awakens. But with that gift comes weight. Because the quantum web you're tied into is not neutral, it mirrors your state. When you are scattered, those around you scatter. When you rise, they rise. This is why you felt pressure greater than others, why your setbacks seemed heavier, why your lessons repeated more ruthlessly. The universe has been training you like a tuning fork, demanding precision, Because your frequency doesn't only belong to you, it threads through countless others. This is the paradox of being chosen. On one hand, it isolates you. You feel the distance between yourself and those who can't yet perceive. You sense the loneliness of carrying resonance that few can hold. But on the other hand, it connects you more deeply than you can imagine. Every act of alignment you make radiates outward, weaving coherence through the web. You are never just healing yourself. You are recalibrating the field for all entangled with you. And here's the truth you've suspected. Some souls incarnate at this time not just to survive, but to anchor, to be lighthouses in the fog of distortion, to hold frequencies steady while the collective shifts. You are one of them. That's why life has pressed you, tested you, broken you open, and forced you into awareness. The universe does not forge lighthouses out of glass, it forges them out of storms. Look at your timeline. The betrayals, the collapses, the endless cycles, they weren't proof of abandonment, they were initiation. Every interference forced you to notice your signal. Every heartbreak demanded you reclaim your coherence. Every loop trained you to stabilize, until finally, here you are, with the capacity to hold resonance not just for yourself, but for others. And that is your special role. You are a node in the great lattice, a point of consciousness chosen to upgrade the web itself. Your awakening is not a private event, it's a collective recalibration. That's why you've always felt eyes on you, even in silence. That's why your smallest choices seem to echo louder than expected. Because the field records your frequency. It responds to you faster, more dramatically, because it has designated you as a signal carrier. So don't shrink from this weight. Don't dismiss your intuition as fantasy or your power as coincidence. Step into it. Own it. You were never meant to blend into static. You were meant to rise above it, to become the coherent note that transforms the song. And now, the upgrade you've been walking toward has revealed its deeper meaning. It is not just about raising your personal frequency. It is about embodying the role you came here for, the chosen consciousness who shifts the web. When you move into coherence, the universe reorganizes itself around you. And when you hold that coherence, others begin to remember. They hear the signal in your presence. They feel the pattern recalibrating through you, and suddenly, they too awaken. This is your role, not savior, not martyr, but transmitter. You are the living proof that the quantum field responds to consciousness, and your resonance becomes the evidence others didn't know they were waiting for. You didn't choose this role. The role chose you. And now it is time to embody it fully. Feel this. The web has been waiting for you to stabilize, and now a window is opening, a rare alignment in both the cosmos and your own field. It is not abstract. It is visceral. You can sense it in the restless energy pulsing through your body, the heightened sensitivity in your skin, the way time itself feels stretched and thin, as if reality is preparing to rewrite itself around you. This is not just a season, it is a window, a cosmic threshold where probabilities converge, where your DNA is more receptive than usual, where your choices vibrate louder in the field. Imagine your double helix not as a fixed staircase but as a spiraling antenna reaching into the infinite. At certain times, the cosmic environment amplifies its receptivity like tuning a radio to a rare broadcast. And you are standing inside one of those broadcasts now. Your DNA is listening. Every thought is a command. Every emotion is an instruction. Every act of coherence is a signal telling your biology which latent codes to awaken. And here's the urgency. The window will not remain open forever. It is a phase transition, a brief corridor where static can be dissolved and replaced with signal. If you hesitate, the old patterns will reassert themselves, pulling you back into interference. But if you act now, if you seize this frequency, you collapse the new timeline into form. You've felt this pressure before. Nights when your body buzzed as if electricity was running through your veins. Days when synchronicities multiplied, when numbers followed you, when conversations mirrored your thoughts. Those weren't accidents. They were signals from the field whispering, now is the time. And now, the signals are louder than ever. The universe is not subtle when it wants you to rise. It disrupts your comfort. It rearranges your connections. It closes doors with such finality that you can no longer pretend the old path is viable. This isn't punishment, it's propulsion. The quantum field is clearing interference, making space for coherence to lock in. But the promise of breakthrough carries responsibility. If you step through this window, you cannot carry hesitation with you. The field magnifies what you hold. Fear becomes distortion, but courage becomes expansion. This is why urgency matters, because the window amplifies both directions. The sooner you choose coherence, the stronger the signal stabilizes. And here is the promise. If you seize this moment, your DNA will not simply adapt, it will restructure. Codes dormant for lifetimes will begin to unfold. Abilities buried under conditioning will surface. You'll notice it first in your perception. Colors sharper, sounds deeper, intuition faster, almost instant. Then you'll notice it in your connections. People you thought were gone will resurface with new resonance. Strangers will appear as allies, arriving with perfect timing. Opportunities that once slipped through your fingers will crystallize as though they had been waiting for this exact vibration. It won't be subtle. It will feel like the universe has bent itself around your frequency. And that is not exaggeration, it is quantum law. Coherence bends probability. Alignment reshapes the web. But you must choose it now. The static is persistent. It will tempt you with old loops, old fears, old comforts. It will whisper that nothing is changing, that you are imagining this. But listen deeper beneath the static. The resonance is undeniable. The window is here. The pressure you feel is not anxiety, it is acceleration. The field is asking you, will you step into coherence fully, or will you let the wave pass you by? Remember this, quantum windows do not arrive randomly. They align with readiness. The very fact that you are hearing these words in this moment proves the window is yours. The promise has found you because your DNA has reached the threshold where transformation is possible. But possibility is not inevitability. It requires choice. So the urgency is not external, it is within. Every breath is an opportunity to instruct your field. Every moment of presence is a command to your DNA. Every choice you make now carries amplified weight, and the universe is listening. This is your moment. Don't let it dissolve into static. Step through. And now comes the part most people overlook. Awareness alone does not collapse timelines. Potential without embodiment fades back into static. To cross the threshold of this cosmic window, you must anchor it not with grand rituals written in stone, but with a simple act of coherence. A seal, a signal, a declaration to the field that you are not just listening, you are transmitting. Ritual has always been the language of transition. In every culture, in every age, humanity has instinctively known that intention crystallizes through action. Fire lit in the night, water poured into earth, a name spoken aloud. These are not symbolic alone, they are energetic anchors, creating coherence between thought, emotion, and physical form. And that coherence is what the quantum field responds to. Your ritual tonight is not complicated. It is presence. It is choice, expressed through a single action that tells your DNA, this is real. Perhaps it's the act of writing a word in the space below. One word that vibrates with your highest frequency, whether it's awaken, coherence, now, or a word only, your soul recognizes. Writing it is not about algorithm or comment sections. It is about collapsing the abstract into the tangible. The moment ink touches paper or your fingers press keys, the signal moves from thought to matter, and the field takes note. Or maybe your ritual is breath. One conscious inhale, drawn in slowly until your chest expands like the universe itself, then exhaled with the silent command, I release the static. Repeat it 3 times and feel the shift not imagined, but embodied. That breath is data, coded into your electromagnetic field, radiating outward into the web. Understand this. The ritual is less about what you do, and more about how you do it. If you write the word with hesitation, the signal weakens. If you breathe while distracted, the field doesn't register coherence. But if you do it with full presence, with heart and mind aligned, the act becomes a frequency anchor. That is when the quantum field locks into your new resonance. Think of it like sealing a contract. Before, everything was theory, possibility, potential energy vibrating in the unseen. But the ritual closes the loop. It instructs your DNA. It stabilizes your frequency. It sends the command into the lattice. This is who I am now. This is the frequency I hold. And once sealed, the web responds. This is why mystics, prophets, and scientists alike have always pointed to embodiment. You cannot merely think your way into coherence, you must enact it. Even the smallest action, performed with full alignment, carries exponential weight in the field. A word written, a candle lit, a breath released, a prayer whispered, these are not small. They are collapses of probability into reality. So pause here. Choose your ritual. Don't overthink. Don't wait for the perfect gesture. The field does not respond to complexity, it responds to clarity. One word, one breath, one action, fully aligned, is enough to bend the web. And when you do it, notice what happens. Notice the warmth in your chest, the tingling in your hands, the subtle lightness in the air. These are not tricks of imagination, they are signals of coherence anchoring. You are telling the universe, I have chosen. And the universe, faithful to its design, rearranges itself to mirror your choice. Seal it now. Write it, breathe it, act it. Because once sealed, the static cannot hold. The wave collapses, the window opens wider, and your quantum web begins to hum with new resonance. This is not tomorrow's work. It is today's ritual. What you just sealed does not end with you. That single act, whether a word written, a breath released, or a thought anchored, ripples through more than your own life. It travels outward, threading itself into the collective lattice of humanity. Because your quantum web is not isolated, it is entangled with countless others. Every vibration you emit informs the larger song. Consider this. Science tells us about morphic resonance, the idea that when one individual learns, remembers, or upgrades, it becomes easier for the next to do the same. Patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior are not locked in isolated brains. They are fields, accessible to all. So when you choose coherence, you are not just freeing yourself, you are making it easier for humanity to follow. You are strengthening the template, carving a neural pathway in the collective mind. And that is why your role is weightier than you imagined. You thought you were just healing personal wounds, breaking cycles in your own timeline. But every release you make sends waves through the human field. When you forgive, forgiveness becomes easier for others. When you rise above fear, courage resonates louder in the web. When you step into alignment, clarity emerges in the collective. The ripple effect is not metaphor, it is physics. Think back to the moments when someone else's courage lit something inside you. Maybe it was a stranger's story, a sentence read at the right time, or even a look in the eyes of someone who refused to break under pressure. That spark you felt wasn't theirs alone, it was resonance passing through the web. And now, you are carrying that torch forward. Others will feel it in you. They may not know why, they may not have words for it, but your frequency will awaken recognition in them. This is why your liberation matters. Every distortion you dissolve weakens distortion in the collective. Every frequency you raise strengthens the possibility for others to rise. The web is woven of interdependent strands, and when one strand vibrates higher, the pattern of the whole shifts. Humanity evolves not by mass movements first, but by individuals transmitting coherence until it tips into collective phase transition. And you may already sense this truth. The way people around you shift when you shift. The way your healing changes the dynamics of entire families. The way your alignment alters the atmosphere of workplaces, communities, even online spaces. These are not small effects, they are tectonic shifts. You are carrying resonance that scales beyond your personal life. But with this realization comes clarity. Your journey was never selfish. The loneliness, the trials, the endless repetition of lessons. It wasn't because you were unlucky. It was because the universe was preparing a frequency through you that could serve the whole. You had to walk through distortion so you could anchor coherence. You had to feel the interference so you could dissolve it not just for yourself, but for every soul entangled in your strand of the web. This is collective expansion. It begins in silence, in the private act of sealing your frequency, but its echoes are cosmic. Somewhere, someone will breathe easier because of the frequency you hold. Somewhere, a child will inherit less static because you broke the loop. Somewhere, a stranger will awaken faster because your coherence paved the way. And this is only the beginning. As more awaken and anchor coherence, the web accelerates. Phase transitions happen not gradually, but suddenly pressure building, invisibly, until the structure shifts in an instant. Humanity is closer to such a shift than it appears, and your resonance is part of that pressure. You are a living proof point, one of the many lighthouses marking the way. So understand, your liberation is not small, it is humanity's gain. Every act of coherence you hold contributes to the collective leap, and as you rise, you give permission for others to rise with you. And now, as the web expands through you, the shift begins to take root in your very body. Because coherence is not only a concept, not only an energy, it is sensation, embodied and undeniable. The quantum upgrade is not something you merely think about, it is something you feel. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your body as a temple woven from starlight and nerve fibers. Every cell is a chamber, every synapse, a corridor glowing with potential. When you raise your frequency, those chambers do not remain silent, they begin to sing. The vibration is subtle at first, like the hum of distant electricity. But if you pay attention, you'll notice it building, tingling in your fingertips, warmth spreading in your chest, a gentle pulse at the crown of your head, as if your skull were an antenna, catching signals from beyond. This is your web reconfiguring itself. The static that once knotted your nerves is unraveling, making space for light to flow freely. That rush of heat you sometimes feel, the sudden shiver running down your spine, the goosebumps that rise without warning, those are not random. They are signatures of your field, syncing with higher resonance. They are your body's way of saying, the signal is clear. Notice how your breath changes in these moments. Inhalations feel deeper, as though they pull energy from invisible wells. Exhalations feel like release, carrying not just air but weight, old emotions, old words, old distortions, leaving your system. Even your heartbeat participates, sometimes racing, sometimes slowing, but always adjusting, always recalibrating to the rhythm of coherence. And then there are the eyes. Have you seen it? The way your reflection sometimes startles you, as if you are looking at someone ancient and newborn all at once. The gaze that feels less like looking and more like being looked through? That's because your frequency is rewriting your perception. Light enters differently. Shapes seem sharper. The world itself looks slightly altered, as if it has been waiting for you to notice its true texture. This is embodiment, the translation of energy into experience. You may feel heaviness dissolve from your shoulders, as though invisible weights are finally lifting. You may feel bursts of joy for no reason, laughter rising from nowhere, or the opposite, tears falling unprovoked, grief surfacing without story. Don't resist either. Both are signs of recalibration, the nervous system releasing static to hold higher signal. It may even feel physical, buzzing in the soles of your feet, a magnetic pull in your palms, pressure at the center of your forehead. These are gateways opening, circuits activating. The sensations are not to be feared, they are confirmation. They remind you that awakening is not abstract, not just mystical, it is biological. Your body is the instrument, and the song is coherence. And perhaps you've noticed how the world responds when you embody this frequency. Animals turn their heads, sensing the calm or the charge you radiate. Strangers glance longer, drawn to something they can't articulate. Technology glitches around you, lights flicker, devices misbehave not because you're broken, but because your electromagnetic field is expanding, recalibrating the space around you. This is how real it island. Your frequency is not a metaphor, it is physics, felt in your bones and seen in your reality. You are not imagining the tingles, the warmth, the bursts of synchronicity. You are not delusional when you feel the air thicken with presence, when you sense unseen eyes, when you dream more vividly than you live. These are the side effects of coherence anchoring, so let yourself feel it fully. Don't dismiss the sensations, don't rationalize them away. Embodiment is the evidence of transformation. The universe doesn't just want you to think higher, it wants you to become higher, cell by cell, nerve by nerve. And as your body learns this new frequency, the quantum web listens. Every tingling, every shiver, every deep breath is a signal that you are transmitting stability. And that stability is what transforms not only your connections, but the field itself. And now, we enter the deepest layer of this shift, the breakthrough coded in your very DNA. Because every sensation, Every ripple you felt in your body is not random, it is instruction. Your cells are listening. Your genetic blueprint, long thought to be fixed, is responding to the resonance you are anchoring. And as your frequency stabilizes, something extraordinary begins to happen. A phase transition inside your biology itself. Think of water. At a certain temperature, it looks unchanging, liquid, fluid, ordinary. But add pressure, add heat, and suddenly it transforms. Molecules rearrange, density shifts, and what once seemed stable becomes something entirely new. Steam rising, ice crystallizing, a new state born. Your DNA is the same. For years, it has carried dormant codes, silent sequences waiting for the right resonance. And now, under the pressure of coherence, under the heat of this cosmic window, those codes are stirring. You can feel it. The tingling in your skin, the rush in your spine, the strange bursts of memory or vision that arrive unbidden, these are signs of DNA restructuring. Strands folding differently, expressions unlocking, potential once theoretical becoming biological reality. Science calls it epigenetics, the activation of dormant genes by environment and intention. Mysticism calls it awakening the remembrance of codes you carried before birth. Both point to the same truth. You are not fixed. You are fluid, alive, rewriting yourself in real time. And here is the pressure you've been sensing. It's why emotions have felt more intense, why dreams have grown more vivid, why time itself feels unstable. This is not chaos, it is transition. The old template of your identity is dissolving, and your body is racing to keep up. Some days you may feel drained, as though gravity doubled overnight. Other days you may feel electric, unable to sleep, buzzing with currents too large for your skin. That is phase transition, the tension between what was and what is emerging. And the timelines are listening. Every quantum possibility of your life is orbiting like satellites, waiting to collapse into form. When your DNA shifts, the signal you broadcast changes, and timelines rearrange themselves accordingly. Opportunities that were invisible become luminous. People who were distant suddenly cross your path. Events accelerate, sometimes overwhelming in speed, because the field is responding to a new blueprint. You are no longer aligned with the probabilities of your old self. You are collapsing into the geometry of your upgraded self. This is why urgency mattered. The window is not endless, but your choice within it determines which timeline locks in. Every breath you take in coherence stabilizes the new code. Every act of presence instructs your DNA. Express differently, live differently, connect differently, and as you keep choosing, the old probabilities fade, replaced by realities that once felt impossible. But here is the paradox. The more pressure you feel, the closer you are to break through. Just as water trembles before it boils, just as ice resists before it cracks, your life may feel stretched to its limit. Relationships falling away, identities dissolving, futures uncertain. This is not collapse, it is transformation under pressure. The field is aligning, and your DNA is rewriting. Remember, your ancestors carried codes for survival, fear, silence. They passed them down unconsciously, encoded in your biology. But you were not born to repeat their loops. You were born to break them, to activate sequences they could only dream of. Every time you hold coherence, you are not just upgrading yourself, you are liberating your entire bloodline, rewriting the narrative encoded in your very cells. And so the pressure you feel is sacred. It is the weight of timelines converging, the hum of probabilities collapsing, the tension of a phase transition that cannot be reversed. You are not falling apart, you are crystallizing. You are not losing time, you are bending it. You are not breaking, you are breaking through. This is DNA awakening. This is the moment where biology becomes prophecy, where science and spirit merge, where you feel in your bones what your soul has always known. You are here to shift not just your story, but the story of the web itself. And the breakthrough is closer than you think. And now, as the pressure peaks and the breakthrough unfolds, you can see the larger picture, the reason this transformation was never only about you. Every shift you've anchored, every frequency you've stabilized, every code you've awakened in your DNA has been rippling outward into the collective. You are not a single thread, you are a node in a vast lattice. And when you rise, the web itself begins to glow. This is your cosmic mission, to embody coherence so fully that others cannot help but feel it. You don't have to preach, you don't have to convince, you don't even have to explain. Your frequency speaks louder than words. The resonance you carry will awaken memory in others, reminding them of the light they've buried, the codes they've silenced, the potential they've forgotten. You become living evidence that awakening is possible, proof that humanity can evolve, one frequency at a time. And understand, your evolution is humanity's evolution. Every distortion you dissolve weakens distortion in the collective. Every timeline you collapse into coherence accelerates the collective shift. You are part of a tipping point, millions of souls rising in resonance, preparing the field for a planetary phase transition. The static that has bound humanity for centuries is unraveling, thread by thread, because individuals like you are choosing to hold signal. This is why your presence matters more than you've ever believed. The field is not neutral, it bends around coherence. And when enough of us hold that vibration, reality itself will reorganize. Systems will crumble, structures will dissolve, new ways of living will emerge, born not from force but from resonance. The future is not waiting for leaders or saviors, it is waiting for signal carriers. And you are one of them. So breathe this truth into your body. Feel the sacred weight of it. You are not here by accident. You are not late. You are not unprepared. The very fact that you found these words, that you stayed, that you felt the resonance rising in your chest, this is proof that your mission is active. The web is listening, the universe is aligning, and your frequency is already transforming connections in ways you may not see yet, but will soon be undeniable. Carry this forward. Walk into your days as if every step sends ripples through eternity, because it does. Speak with coherence, breathe with coherence, live with coherence, and watch how the entire lattice bends in your favor. Your life is no longer just yours. It is the tuning fork of a species, the resonance that shifts the song of humanity. And when the static tempts you again, when the old loops whisper, when doubt creeps in, remember this: you are not collapsing back. You are collapsing forward. You are not circling. You are spiraling upward. You are not just raising your frequency. You are transforming the web itself. Raise your frequency today and watch how every connection in your quantum web transforms. The mission has already begun. The universe is waiting for your next signal.